high school or a college student somewhere hope or fodder for an argument with their professor or validation like I received through grad school that like what they're feeling is real and that there's nothing to be worried about or ashamed about in those feelings, that then I'm hopefully doing my job. So if there's like some Native youth somewhere who's like, oh wow, like I could be a professor, I could do that, or can take my tweet and send it out to their timeline and start conversations that they didn't feel like they could before. That's what I try to keep in mind as I'm doing the work on there. And I try to be very vulnerable and open on there, which is not something that we're really encouraged to do in academia. So like I talk about like my own health struggles or things that I'm worried about, or like show that vulnerability and that fallibility. I'm open when I mess up. I try to just model what I hope Native youth can see as like I hate phrasing it as like, I'm not trying to be a role model, but like I'm trying to show that you don't, like that there are many ways to be Native, and this is one of them. And so I see that connected to the work that I see as my motivation with Native youth in college.
You touched on this, but what do you think is the best way to support or partner with youth in their efforts to create change online?
I think a lot of it is just getting out of the way and promoting what Native youth are doing on their own. Like there's this awesome student that is taking over the Indigenous X Canada account this week, and I think he uses he, him pronouns. He is starting this whole movement to like decolonize schools in Canada, and he's young. He's like 16, 15. And so that is work that literally we just need to get out of the way and like let him take his vision and support his vision and do what we can to support it and shape it and make it into what it can be, but not take over, not try to make it fit what the already established norms of organizing are. So yeah, I think a lot of it is to stop kind of devaluing the work that Native youth are doing, or saying that it's not real unless you're an adult or involved in an institution or an organization or whatever it is. So it's recognizing the value and the power and the labor that Native youth are already doing, and not seeing it as something that will come in the future. So I try really hard to, like I get emails all the time from folks who are like trying to start things or whatever, and I try to respond and support if I can, or retweet or send resources or just send support, monetary or otherwise, like just getting behind movements that I can. And it's funny to me because when I started doing Native appropriations, there was this whole wave of like older activists who were so excited about it, who like Suzanne Harjo and like Charlene Teeters and all these people who had been doing this work since like the 60s were sending me emails and being like, this is so amazing. And at the time I was like, what is going on? Like you're OG at this, like why are you telling me it's amazing? And now I'm realizing like, and I'm not going anywhere and I'm not old, but like I feel that way about some of the work that young people and youth are doing now, where I'm just so excited that like it doesn't have to just be me anymore, and what they're doing is so much more innovative and well grounded in theory than like my stuff ever was. So that is really amazing to me.
What do you believe is going to be the next challenges for Indian country, and do you think technology will play a part in finding or hindering solutions?
I mean, I think climate change is going to be massive on the horizon, and will really affect so much just because of our connections to land and understandings of land. And I also think that, especially under the current administration and the makeup of the Supreme Court, we really have to worry about the future of our rights of sovereignty and the ways that they are enacted and protected. And those two issues, I think, go hand in hand in terms of, with climate change, is going to bring new issues that tribes have to think about in terms of jurisdiction and sovereignty and whatever it is. And like Daniel and I were talking yesterday about the proposed border wall that would cut through his community and infringe on tribal sovereignty there and all of that kind of stuff. But I still think that representations are kind of undergird all of this, because like Trump still thinks that Indians all look like folks in Hollywood Westerns, and he thinks that sovereignty is unfair because it's something that only Indians get. And that's the person who is leading our nation. So, or leading what is currently known as the United States. And so I think the representations work is still incredibly, incredibly important at shifting, and that's like this reclaiming Native truth stuff. So it's shifting the conversation around who we are as Indigenous people. And I really believe strongly that Indigenous knowledges can save the world, and that in like a non-hyperbolic way, like our communities knew for thousands of years how to live on this earth in a productive and sustainable way. And so part of thinking about that future is allowing the space for Native folks to really lead on those endeavors. And as far as technology, like technology is not going anywhere. And I think that, so of course it will have a role in this. I don't think technology is going to save us. I don't think that science is going to magically discover a cure for climate change. But that things like renewable energy sources, or thinking more innovatively about what resources tribal lands can offer in terms of renewable energy, like bringing in wind or solar onto native lands and things like that. But I do think that as a networking tool, technology is going to continue to be really important, because we are so spread out and because we are isolated in communities all over the place. To be able to connect and share resources and share stories and all of that is really important. But I'm not hanging my hopes on even the fact that like Twitter will be here in the next 8 years, or that that any of our infrastructure could still be here. But that doesn't mean that we won't find ways to communicate. And like this morning, Alvin Warren was telling the story of the Pueblo Revolt and how the communities prior to the revolt were these disparate communities that didn't even really see themselves as related. And then they did something unprecedented, which was they came together to plan and organize and execute this successful revolt. And they did it all without writing. They did it with using these like braided yucca strands with knots. And so I think that using